What's up, you beautiful people? Welcome back to the Blizzard Arena here in Burbank, California. It's day 2 of the HGC Finals Open stage. We've seen some great matches so far. Just recently, Heroes Hearth Esports takes a 2-0 victory over Leftovers. It was great play by them, but we got a really great match coming up for you next. Arguably one of the best teams on the planet, Dignitas out of EU, gonna be taking on TheOne from China. I can't wait to see these guys play. It's always a privilege, and to take us into it, Gillyweed over at the desk.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I got the dream team here with me of Trixler and Dreadnought to take us through our next match. But first, let's recap what happened in the last one, because I think it was a pretty big surprise, at least for me, that Heroes Hearth were able to get it to a win. Not to doubt them at all, but just that they were able to win over a team that I felt could be a big dark horse.
In a convincing manner, too. That's the thing that really shocked me. I could see Heroes Hearth getting a 2-0, but it might have been a little bit sloppy. That game number 2 in Sky Temple was a display of how to macro. And that's something that I've usually flamed with America in the past when it came to international events. They usually play a little bit too slow. They don't know how to push their elements, but HGC delivered against Leftovers, as you mentioned, is a team that we're starting to get accustomed to winning, and they are losing right now. And part of that is because of how strongly HGC played.
And I think that raises my point very, very well, is they're a team that is getting accustomed to winning. I cannot reiterate how difficult it is to be a team that is suddenly on a momentum train of any kind and have any kind of credibility and backing behind you, but then mentally try and tell yourself, but that doesn't matter. You know, all these people, all this pressure, all these games, we're here to have fun. And though everybody here, I guarantee, has a level of fun and, you know, passion towards the game, it is difficult to set yourself. I would argue it takes more mental strength to knock yourself down a peg than to remain confident at the top end there. And that is what we're essentially asking of Leftovers. And I would argue part of the reason we see this kind of crumbling coming out from them.
I mean, you know, I was even going to ask before that match, do we get like another Cho'Gall or something from them? But they did pretty much stick to meta as we would expect from them. And now I do wonder how that will affect their mentality going forward. We are going to take a peek back into the standings now to clue you in on what's happening on the alternate stream. Miracle did win another 2-0 match. I believe that was versus Luna Meow. So they're sitting at the top, but Genji have a chance to continue tying back up, which is what Genji and Miracle have been doing so far throughout the group stage. They're playing versus Team Liquid right now on the alternate stream. That's twitch.tv/BlizzHeroes2, but we'll also be letting you know how that's going to go down. And Heroes Hearth Esports sitting atop the standings now. Team Dignitas is going to be up next. They'll be trying to tie back up with them, but that is very good news for North America.
I like how you mentioned Genji has a chance to tie it up with Miracle. Not that they will tie it up with Miracle. They have been destroying so far this tournament.
It's always, you never know. There's always a shot for Genji. You know, they're all right at this video game. Here's what's coming up next in the schedule. And immediately up next is Team Dignitas versus TheOne, a team that, who would have ever thought they would come in and start off day 1 the way they did?
They have been surprising, but they are entertaining, so therefore I'm okay with them being up here on the big main stage. My problem is the mindsets between both these teams. You look over to TheOne right now, and TheOne says, okay, we hope we can get top 4. We're going to play our best, do what we can. We want to make sure we make it the next week. You look at Dignitas, and for the first time since I've ever seen them in an interview, I asked them, hey, can you win this tournament? And they actually, without hesitation, said, yeah, we can win it. I have not seen that confidence from Dignitas. Usually they flutter around, they joke a little bit, you know how Snitch is, and they are here to win. They want this tournament.
Well, let's check in with some of their top competitors for this tournament, as we are going to look at what's happening between Genji and Team Liquid. It seems like Genji have a pretty good chance looking at the scoreline for being able to tie Miracle so far.
I think it's fair to say this is GG. That's game 1 Genji, especially if they kill off Sport Billy. There it is. Only 2 seconds to the res on Thrall. I would not be surprised if they just go for core.
A good old Rich Alarak. Here and again, we do get
that. Dude, that build is so hard to play. Have you tried to run that build, that Chain Lightning build that Alex running right now?
I just straight up will just say that, you know, Genji makes things work that pretty much nobody else in the world will. I look at Alarak and I legitimately go, nobody can play this hero competitively except for Rich. So
I saw him finish that quest. Well, didn't he do that at like 15 seconds in? It was the first time
they lined up at the gate and he was just, and he's like, oh, thanks for that one. Fastest quest I've ever seen.
Can we have that skin with Dreadnought is doing all the sound effects? Just good to go.
Please, please.
Would buy, 100%.
I just want that sound effect for every sound effect.
Murky dying.
And resurrecting, both of them. All right. Well, we are going to now jump in to our match here. We'll make sure to keep track of what's happening between Gen G and Team Liquid. And we're starting with TheOne, a team that has come in and shown us what exactly China can do at a tournament like this.
That's the best part about this team and why I think some people are starting to resonate with them. They are bringing their meta and not adjusting. One of the issues that we have at these international tournaments is that a new meta will come in, or different metas will come in,
right?
And the folks that have the different meta or the different ideas suddenly start losing. And a lot of them don't work on their adaptability, so they try to adapt, but they don't know how to adapt. And then suddenly they just fall flat and it hurts too much. I mean, Mindfreak is someone that talked about this in the past. They are a team that actually enjoys macro in ANZ, but when they come to an international tournament, they feel bullied in the team fighting. So you look over to TheOne, and they are just playing what they want to play, and they're pulling it up. I still have some qualms with that Dragon Strike yesterday, but I'll get over it. The rest of their matches have been fun.
That was a guy with the Dragon Strike there, Mang. He, for me, is the all-star here of this roster. Whenever they seem to be at their best, his mechanical prowess is what they really, really heavily rely on. And I would argue, I very much agree with you when it came to the Dragon Strike. I think one of the biggest trade-offs, though, we look at TheOne and we say, keep him with that identity and making it look good here is kind of never been seen before. I would still argue some of the choices that are made within heroic selections with like things like March of the Black King, I think is misplaced sometimes. The Dragon Strikes as well. They stick to it, but I would argue it does still come at a bit of a detriment at times.
You know, it amazes me because when studying this team, I felt like Keshi was the standout range, but now having Lies come in and replace Mang, it totally has been able to stand out. Now we're switching over to a team that we pretty much wouldn't even need to say anything. This team is so well known. It's Team Dignitas, our first time seeing them on stream, and I want to focus on the first player. This is Nappy, their coach, but the first player that we're going to see. This is the last hurrah of JPL. And though sometimes, you know, players retire and then they come back later on and playing, looking at you, Michael Udall, you never know, right? And JPL, if nothing else, this will change Team Dignitas. JPL shaped some of the things that we know about tank meta in the past. Think about his stitches, how it can always come in. It's crazy to think that this is his last big tournament.
I'm glad that you brought up Stitches, because that is the one thing that JPL has really sold me on, is that Stitches can actually be a reliable tank, especially when you have the team to back you up. Whenever I select that hero in Hero League, I'm like, I'm going to be JPL. I usually fall flat, but at least I have somewhere to go with him, right? He's brought so much when it comes to that tank role. He's always been a quiet tank as well. He's not the guy that you immediately say, this is one of the best tanks you have in Europe. You've always talked about Breeze, you talk about Mobsio now, but JPL has always been solid, and that's because he's also surrounded by an all-star team.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I always think of when knowing, you know, some of the steps of the future for JPL is like when looking at his past, we highlight Wubby as one of those amazing stand-up players who's literally never fallen from the top of Europe. But I think a lot of people fail to realize a majority of that time is sitting right next to JPL, and that he has been a huge setup and influence for that. And outside of that small period of time where Wubby moves over to the different roster, Jay's still sticking with the core of, you know, the rest of the squad here. They still are sitting at that second place threshold. He has raised almost more championships and kind of trophies within the European region than anyone else other than, again, maybe Wubby.
2015 BlizzCon, third place on Na'Vi, has been with Team Dignitas ever since. So when you look at everything that Team Dignitas has done, JPL is a huge part of that. And conversely, his teammate, one of the newer blood to Team Dignitas, to Europe, surprisingly joined Team Dignitas because they were able to see his potential, Azalea. Not only that, but role swapping twice and doing very well on those role changes. Azalea has proven that he too can be a constant within the scene.
He's just a success story, someone that has done well in Hero League, naturally grown through the game and got spotted by competitive players and pulled into the scene. And this guy continues to impress and impress. And he's so flexible. As mentioned, you saw him change in different roles, but also when it comes to his hero pool, if he needs to play something different for his team, he's usually at the top of his game, already ready to go. I mean, he's already talking about heroes that have been adjusted in the last couple of months that he's been dying to play, and he's just waiting for his team to pick him up.
I think the duration of his career and how short that is, mixed with the diversity of characters that he has been asked to play, the success behind it says more than enough about, is Azalea a player worth your time? You know, and it's even funny because knowing some of the changes like in the past when they were going to go with some of those roster swaps, I was asking, you know, some of the members, like, what are you going to do here, Dignitas, right? And it's like, you know, we've seen this guy in solo queue who's pretty good, you know, Azalea, we're thinking about looking at him, and it's just funny to know that was like such long ago, their thought process, and today he is, you know, probably part of the reason that they go, we think we can win BlizzCon.
Yeah, a person who went from respecting, admiring Team Dignitas to being a central component to their success. And now they face one of China's finest, so let's get it going. The Battleground Pool. Coming in hot are the bans. Team Dignitas never swaying from that Bruxus holdout ban, and Tomb of the Spider Queen very consistent for the 1-2, giving us Volskaya Foundry, chosen by Team Dig.
Volskaya gives me a little bit concerned if you're a fan for the one, based on the fact that it's easy to kind of snowball against. Not only is Dig, very successful at the battleground, any map that they select, I would automatically go, I think you're at the back foot if you're the one. But it's mainly the snowball capabilities. The control point A does not go in the one's favor, which I would expect Dignitas, if it looks too bad, to be comfortable with some macro play. And that is typically not the strength of teams like the one here. So I feel like draft is very crucial here if they're going to recover.
I agree with the draft being very crucial here, because I want to know if the one is going to move into an Aperture ban at any point. If not, Dignitas is no stranger to playing Aperture on this battleground. They've also showcased a hefty amount of double support compositions with a Vala or a Sergeant Hammer. So those are options that can definitely pop up here for Team Dignitas if the one is not careful. And the one also showed that they have an affinity for Genji. So Dignitas, with having a 1-2 here, can maybe decide to give up that Genji. Well, I'm going to go in for the ban here, allow for the one to pick up a hero that they typically want to move into, and then get a strong 1-2 for that double support meta if they want to go that route.
Yeah, on Volskaya Foundry in the regional for the one, they really like Junkrat though too. That's something to consider consistent poke now that they don't have the poke of Genji. Want to get Tyrande though, as she's been one of the biggest constants of this tournament.
One thing that I would like to see as this kind of moves forward, now that we know that Tyrande is selected, and even more so when we look at Dignitas, and whenever they have moments of vulnerability, I feel like the biggest weak link here of the roster, and at times can kind of overextend, is Poik. So I want to see, if I am the one and I'm trying to really get a win here over Dignitas, finding other things to pair to try and make sure that they have the mobility to go and get the kill potential onto Poik, because sometimes, again, like that Rainer selection that I'm likely going to be able to move on to, he can get caught out.
Any of you guys feel that Urel is kind of standout as far as the bans?
I mean, Wubby was, I think, married to Urel for a couple of weeks in HGC Europe.
What did Snitch say? Urel's Wubby's girl?
Yeah.
But even still, this high up, to ban it, yes, definitely Wubby is a fantastic girl player, but I wonder if this is forcing something like that early plays.
I do think it's a bit of a setback, but I would argue the only reason why I think on the side of the one it might be a little bit more convenient is based on their affinity for Malthel. They're one of the few regions that still are comfortable to make that happen. So if anything, that forced a laning mismatch in favor of the one according to their ideology, right? The Malthel into the Blaze versus the Urel could be a little bit kind of cattywampus there.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. Hugo loves his Malthel. It's like Malthel or Illidan all day, and Hugo is a happy solo player.
You were talking about that Junkrat earlier, and I was wondering if that might be a ban here for Dignitas, because the Malthael Junkrat was actually a big Eastern type of playstyle that we saw at the MSB. You get the last rides, you get the Riptire to move forward and try to focus down one target. And with Poik being on Rainer, who has a low health pool, you could try to get that kill, as you were mentioning earlier, Dread. But it looks like it's going to be a Jaina ban here for Team Dignitas. And to be fair, we had a lot of Jaina yesterday from the one.
Yeah, the only concern that I have, if that is going to be the thought process, like trying to pick on the Rainer, is that Malthael, though he does have the last rights kill potential opportunity, it's not going to be, you know, maximizing the utility of the spell if you're looking for a Rainer. And not only that, if you're trying to dive the backline to get that threat, you typically are risking your positioning too heavily as a Malthael comparative to that of, like, you know, a standardized backliner that we see. The Tyrael and Decker, though, here from Dignitas, I mean, right now they have the most safe composition you've ever seen, and I think that's pretty much a direct counter to a lot of the playstyle here for the one.
Cassia, played by both Meng and Kashi from the one. I felt like Kashi was an extremely strong Cassie player. I would see him like 1v4 people and then kill them all just with the area damage. But Meng still, if he's able to pull that off, you know, you've got the blinds now against Rainer, and then they're going to finish things with arrows that can pop all around those control points.
I'm a little bit worried about that Tyrael pickup. Sure, Tyrael's a safe pickup, especially if you want to have those team fights, you get that certification down, obviously. You have the bunker to fall up into, so you can elongate fights post 10. But on the control point, is Tyrael have enough of a health bar, even with Decade backing him up, to handle the poke coming out of Hanzo and Cassia during that entire control phase? Junkrat comes in to help out with their own poke wars here for Team at Dignitas. But I look over at the one, I really actually enjoy what they have, and it's, again, staying true to what they play. I
think I'd be equally as concerned, and I don't know if this is necessarily correct, but I think the only reason I go, you know, I think it's going to be okay, that they aren't going to be worried about the poke, is they have Blaze for not only ability to be able to wear it, he has enough self-sustain, and they go, here's the bunker, here's the Sanct, and that double stack between the two, in my opinion, is almost near a direct counter to, again, often the Chinese team's playstyle, because that death ball, if you have about 8 seconds, 9 seconds of just, you can't really fight us, typically that falls apart very quickly for them.
Yeah, these are two different kinds of drafts.
Yeah.
The very safe, sanctification, bunker, stay a while to reset fights. You've got mines to disrupt what's coming at you from the one. Is it enough from Team Dignitas to be able to deal with everything of the one coming straight at their face?
That's definitely the question here. I think the first control point is where we get that answer. How will it go for the one? Will they be able to grab that protector and break down a couple of forwards, maybe get an experience lead? But if we get to 10 safely for Dignitas, I can see them running away with this game.
Totally agree. We're heading over to the casters for game 1 between Team Dignitas and TheOne.
Thanks very much, Gilly, and we are preparing, and I think this is, everyone can agree, this is potentially the best caster duo for this.
A little bit of China flavor.
I'm sure we can potentially predict who might be biased to what in this game here. There we go.
Yeah, I think China is going to have a bit of a tougher time than they had so far. Even with the one who did extremely well at the tournament, this is now the big question, can they actually get a map of Dignitas here as well?
I think you might be right. They've so far managed to do it against both Leftovers and Tempest, but their toughest challenge yet is going to be Dignitas.
Material play by JPL and Team in Blue. Whoopi on a blaze for Dignitas. We have Poik on Jim Raynor. Snitch, of course, therefore finds himself on Junkrat, and Azalea again on the old man.
And on the right-hand side from China, it is TheOne with ZJZ on that Tyrande. Meng has found his way onto Hanzo. Hugo on his classic Malthael. He is bringing out the Diablo, and Lies is bringing out the Cassia. They were able to defeat a Cassia comp from Leftovers earlier on yesterday. Can they now turn it around and use the success for their own benefit?
TheOne did extremely well and definitely is putting China high up into that Group A here. The big question, of course, is still, can they follow that up here today on the second day of opening week with a few more victories? And against Dignitas, it is not going to be easy, but it would be amazing for them if they can get a map or even two here.
And with the fact that Leftovers also lost just now to Heroes Hearth, currently TheOne, they're starting to look potentially pretty to make it out of this group. Dignitas are going to have to look to shut that down for the benefit of Europe in general. So far, small little scuffle at the start of the game, but no immediate kills.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Leftovers currently are very threatened by the Chinese team here, since at the beginning when people looked at Group A, most of them were thinking, okay, China might be one of the two teams not making it out of groups and expected Leftovers to do really, really well. But so far, that hasn't really been the case. And now Leftovers really have to look, okay, who do we still face? Where can we get points? And who can we actually beat in the standings? And if TheOne is starting to pick up maps against tough opponents now here on the second day, then their hopes would all of a sudden be just down the drain.
TheOne doing something they've done consistently throughout HGC China, picking up the support camp incredibly quickly. And due to the fact that it is a predictable rotation where most teams will start off with their fortification camp, Dignitas, though, they scouted it out incredibly quickly, decided to let it go. They feel more comfortable. They don't want to take those early game fights, it seems.
Yeah, they are also in a situation where the combination between Diablo and Tyrande can just do so well to snipe a target. So it's oftentimes the question, do we really want to fight into this? But Dignitas is invading the camp now and is trying to find a kill here. A bit too late to stop Hugo from claiming the turret. But outside of that, Dignitas is still with a bit of pressure on their own.
It was nice to see the fact that they gave up the support camp. They tried to gain value elsewhere, but TheOne, despite losing most of He's health, were able to back out with the prize. And now we see Snitch rotating back, not missing a single minion in this lane. So a very solid rotation from Dignitas. Now they're looking to grab some experience with a quick snipe there onto Hugo. Hugo, though, does drop the turret.
Fantastic collapse, and also eliminating one of the items, of course, in the hands of TheOne. So great play here by Dignitas. For TheOne, what I'm really looking to is this combo that we mentioned earlier between Diablo and Tyrande. It's a combo of old that we've seen years ago already coming into Heroes of the Storm, where Tyrande tries to follow up on Diablo's engage, and then the idea is to burst the target away. And that combo has been coming back, especially now in Phase 2. One of the surprising things was, though, that a lot of the teams do not seem to have that synergy anymore where you can just get these reliable follow-ups. It's been made way more difficult for them, so I want to see if the Chinese team is able to execute that properly.
Roller ceiling comes out, get 3 heroes. Nicely done as JPL tries to bait a couple shots here. We're also seeing from Hanzo the explosive arrow, not going with the starting to become quite popular ignore all distractions. purely for this control point where Hanzo can basically sit in the middle lane, hit the minion, turn around, hit a hero, hit a minion, hit a hero with huge range and safety. But here's the combo, as you just said, and Snitch gets taken out.
Great follow-up here by the one. They get the kill. It was an important one. And as you said, it's exactly that combo. And it was a great execution that we saw here. Diablo with the engage, Tyranda's follow-up was there, and then Cassia immediately on the target, delivering most of the damage, which led eventually to the kill here. Snitch, of course, very low on HP here on Junkrat in general, and that's something that the one could capitalize on. Now taking the early lead on the objective and pressuring Dignitas on a map where they excel.
But Dignitas, they have more members here, with Hanzo currently dealing with the mercenary camp in the top lane. Dignitas are able to drive back the one due to their numbers advantage. Hanzo, though, will be able to rotate quickly. They have 7 for a tiny window, but it's not enough to make anything happen. Dignitas, hitting their level 7, take the opportunity to grab a camp.
It's a really good rotation, and this is actually something that happened earlier, because the one committed this early. Oh, another attempt here to go for the kill. Snitch goes down again. 0-2 already on Snitch here. Great performance, because this was actually a dangerous moment for the one, and I'm quickly going to talk about why. Dignitas committed very early in the game to the turret, and that allowed them to, during the objective, pick up another turret. They just moved away, wanted to re-engage onto the objective with an item advantage that the one couldn't have because their own turret camp wasn't even up at the time. But that second kill against Snitch was just absolutely perfect. It secures the protector, and now the one have an opportunity to prep objective 2 in the top lane.
Yeah, they got the burst, they got the follow-up, nicely done. They're even going to try and dive point here, but that armor coming in from his level 4 is too much, and they're not able to finish him off. But like we said, the one, they're so all in on this strategy in the early game, with the Malevolence as well coming in from Diablo for even more burst here. If Snitch doesn't start positioning himself a little further back, he might just continue to be the target.
Yeah, and this is a strategy that oftentimes snowballs. If you are on Volskaya Foundry and you dominate the early game, you will see a big advantage from objective to objective. Dignitas has to play around that, and it is not going to be easy. You look at experience. The one is already a level ahead and will very likely approach objective number 2 with a level 13 talent advantage, at least initially.
And we see yet another biotic emitter, the support camp being taken out by the one. Scroller Ceiling will spot this, but again, Dignitas choosing not to fight. JPL already porting back, but that's now double biotic emitters being held by the one.
And a very likely scenario that we're going to run into now is that Dignitas will have to let the objective at the top lane go for some time, tries to get level 13 in the process. That's normally what we're running into, and then we'll have to fight into an opponent that has not only a level advantage, but also more items than Dignitas. The one, on the other hand, are already trying to play aggressive around their level 10. So up to level 13, there's still a bit of a window, and the one are attempting to use that with the early heroic ability that they claimed.
You say play aggressive. Dragon Arrow Apocalypse. A classic combo returning here. Valkyrie even coming in from Lies. Here's the Shadowstalk invisible. Diablo engage.
Yeah, I like the attempt here. They go for JPL. The stun is not hitting, but it's not even needed. Sanctification to negate the last rites. The level 10 comes just in time. Great reaction here from Dignitas, but that was close. The one nearly grabbing a kill.
A couple inches to the right. A beautiful concussion mine, and Snitch makes up for those 2 kills onto him with a sick double kill.
Immediately allowing the double kill here, and even before that, the one already dropping 1 biotic emitter. Even without those 2 kills, that was a favorable trade for Dignitas.
That was value.
But of course, getting the kill against
they made it over the wall.
Made it even better.
Lies very nearly getting himself in danger, but the quick multi-man blind is enough to dissuade Team Dignitas for the moment. But Dignitas, with such a lovely turnaround, they're now a little bit catching up in terms of experience. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that's fantastic for them. They will now enter the second objective phase on eye level, so they don't even have to play this game where they are always a step behind their opponent. This is great for them. The one had a huge advantage through that first protector and heading into that mid game, but now Dignitas can take these fights, they can go for these invades, they have the awareness of what's happening on the map, and they're trying to get another camp because of it. Fantastic position for Dignitas.
Dragon Arrow comes out, Apoc follow-up, it is going to land, but the bunker going to protect most of the backliners as they begin moving forward. Wubby is attempting to get onto the backline of ZJZ, but he does pull back. Riptide is dropped and isn't going to get that much value, but they're still going to try and turn onto Heath.
They have Sanctification though, JPL
Boom!
gets taken. Now the Sanctification got actually interrupted, and therefore the last rights goes through, and that's 2 kills against Dignitas. With Sanctification being interrupted, there was in this choke point just no point for, or no way for them to sustain themselves through. But initially, the area was actually great for a fight from Dignitas' perspective, but that interruption just was perfect from the one. That achieved so much for them.
The overextension, trying to chase that Tyrande, the positioning just wasn't in their favor. There were so many moments of brilliance from Dignitas, but like you said, that one interrupt on Sank is all that was needed.
I expected Dignitas to walk away after they only had to sacrifice a cooldown on the bunker against the Hanzo ult and also the Apocalypse from Diablo. There were a lot of tools that the one already used, and Dignitas could have gone and transitioned over to the top, but we're hoping to achieve a bit more down here. Now the one have the early level 13. Dignitas is about to pick it up themselves, but they also want the biotic emitter.
And the one, they notice it's happening, but it doesn't look like they really want to fight this. They just want as much percentage on this objective as possible. They're already up to 64 here.
Now Dignitas has, of course, the problem that they do not have a fountain at the top lane. The one can still retreat to their own fort and top up their health pools again. Dignitas, on the other hand, they have the item advantage, so they are now trying to claim the spot and will try to hold it, but Malthael is making the rotation topside as the one is aiming for the big team fight.
Malthael has a single stack on his last right, so not going to be huge cooldown reduction at the moment, but it is off cooldown at the moment, so he's going to be ready for that burst if they catch anyone out of position.
Sanctification and Bunker are going to be so important here, playing around the last rights. So this is where the one have to play this very cautiously. Dignitas on the point is waiting for them to engage here. Snitch with a low hit point pool also has to be very careful about Diablo here, as he is looking for the engage.
Hugo wraps around, there's the invisibility, but he was caught in the steel trap of Junkrat. Snitch in full retreat. He will escape. Tyrande stun not landing, and Wobby doesn't land the stun onto life. They turn around, but there is the bunker for the first sustain, but Sank used as well.
Sanctification already used. Hugo on the other hand is low. It's coming in from the side again as Hyperion is getting some value. Last strike being used here too. No death just yet, as the one is moving back to tap off again at the fountain and re-engage into the team fight.
Dignitas can't do that. They have no fountain here, as you mentioned earlier, but the Protector is still picked up by Dignitas. He might have overextended here. Scroll of Sealing will land, and he will get taken out. Ripped souls, and Lies actually not a good position here. Will almost certainly go down too.
Double kill achieved, and that was fantastic play by Whoopi in particular, because Diablo was trying to get onto the point to prevent the Protector of ending up in the hands of Dignitas, but then the jet propulsion stops him cold and he just cannot enter the point quickly enough, which allows Dignitas to grab the Protector, turn it around, take Diablo down and follow it up with a second kill against Cassia.
That move has also taken a man down. Malthael rotated to mid lane to soak experience. And as such, his team still decided to move onto the point, interrupted, as you perfectly said, by Wobby, but that was still an interesting decision.
Yeah, initially, the fight actually started off well for the one. They made sure that they split Junkrat from the rest of the team. Malthael chased a bit, and they were trying to turn around in a 5 versus 4. The tap on the fountain also great, but it came just a second too late. They couldn't go back to the objective in time to still contest the point, and now Dignitas with a level 16, half a level advantage, getting not only the fort at the top lane, but they also destroy the mid lane, focusing their attention to the bottom of the map where we will see the next objective spawn.
It's a big deal, moving down here, going to take out the turrets initially. They finally lose the Protector though, so as such the Fountain and the second turret will currently survive. And we will see Dignitas pulling back, not wanting to get themselves caught out. Malthael has still been split soaking during all of this, and as such, 16 is achieved by the one, but they are still over half a level behind.
Dignitas definitely finding their rhythm here a bit. The call of God at the beginning of the game, the one definitely very aggressive and willing to fight. I would argue that the one could, after the initial lead, even have played this a bit slower and not try and go for another engage with the Shadowstalk Diablo that we saw. If they played this just slow and focus on controlling the map, they would have had a bit of a better advantage heading into the second objective. But Dignitas then turning this around, taking the team fight, and now playing on eye level with the one, as we again see the Shadowstalk.
Hugo's holding on the point. Here comes the APOC. It does stun Tyrael, but Sank was not dropped. He wasn't even put on the cooldown, and with the concussion bind, the one need to disengage, and that is what they will do. Riptide will get a little bit of damage off, but everyone will survive.
17 versus 16 now. Dignitas still with the lead, and they have the items. They have the biotic emitter, 2 turrets as well. Great start for them, and already setting up a bit around the turret position now on the one, trying to also snipe that fountain, and that's an easy pickup.
Very nicely done, even putting a slow on the conveyor belt to slow down the rotation of the one. Just great move after great move from Dignitas. Their little early game shakes we just saw are nowhere to be seen now.
Still impressed by the one, I have to admit it. I've been very, very critical of China in the past, and I'm very positively surprised by how they present themselves. Another aggressive play here. The bunker is saving them for now, but a great engage by the one. But now he is a bit too far out.
He might live.
Saved by Snitch.
He lived! Yeah, the concussion mine, he sent a couple more grenades afterward. Lies in trouble, in full retreat, getting chased down. JPL eats so much damage, but Lies able to tank through it. The one holding on by the skin of their teeth.
I like the way that the one presents themselves at this tournament. It's very refreshing to see that China, for once, is not just a punching bag, but actually is in a position where they are threatening to kick one of the teams out of the group here, where they're going up against the top seed in Europe and trade evenly in fights. This is really cool to see. I love this.
They're still less than a level behind in experience. Sorry, less than half a level behind in experience. They're keeping up, and this is brilliant to see. Like you said, many people, due to their performance at the Eastern Clash and at Mid-Season Brawl, would not have looked at China and said this is something that could be done.
So far, Dignitas still the one who have the advantage in the item department, which is going to be very crucial heading into this third objective. Another attempt at the Valkyrie, but this time no target has been hit, and the rotations are on their way. Already another camp being taken by Junkrat and Blaze, and that will drop a third turret into the hands of Dignitas, as they have a massive, massive item advantage, as we just now see the control point towards the bottom lane spawn.
Hugo split soaking is absolutely what's been keeping the one in this game. You see Snitch realizing Malthael's not rotating the top lane. He's going to help his team and needed to move, already rotating down himself. Hugo taking a very long rotation though, trying to deny some vision, but finally is going to show on the map.
Once again, the one who's going to look for that engage with Diablo. The follow-up of Tyrande. CJ is already there. Poi getting poked a little bit. Wooby with the jet propulsion, missing it. Not a successful hit by him.
They hold it together, but he has eaten so much poke damage. Tyrande needs to get in range, get some auto attacks off to get that healing output.
Massive item advantage for Dignitas. They have so many turrets, and if at any point
Valkyrie
go in here, here comes the Valkyrie, and Poi goes down. A great kill by the one. 5 versus 4 for them, but he goes down as Junkrat immediately reacts with a counter kill.
Hugo's trying to distract on the back line. The Lornado coming out. Hugo's actually going to be able to pull back from this, but Lies, he's getting so much healing from that ring of the leech. He tanked through the counter attempt.
JPL.
That is going to be a 1-for-1 trade.
JPL nearly fell here, but now the one is in that weird spot where they do not have a fountain. They can just move back, just tap back off, and they can now re-engage into the fight. It's exactly what JPL is doing here.
Wobby's looking for that group up. There's so many opportunities. First turret is dropped. Hugo is not in a nice position here. He's trying to dodge the damage. Tyrande's desperately trying to heal on cooldown.
He has 2 stacks on his last strikes, but there goes the kill against Malthael. He falls as JPL delivers the final blow, and that forces the one back. Bad position for them now. Dignitas already moving in, closing in on the 20, and also trying to get that third protector. A fantastic position for the European team. But can they really end with this? The one have a great reaction, immediately focusing on the healing beat top side.
They know they're going to be fighting into a level 20. They know that Dignitas will be pushing bot with this protector and almost certainly getting a keep due to that level 20. So what do? They grab experience and they grab protection. The way to survive and try and drive back that protector, but Holy Arena online now. There's so, and the bottomless flasks. Dignitas could go for an end hit.
Exactly, especially with Tyrael. If you have the Tyrael and also Blaze in this setup with a Holy Arena here, you have the chance to go for the core, and that's something that the one has to be very aware of, especially with a Hyperion. Already the pressure on the keep itself is about to fall. The one still waiting for the 20. They don't have the Storm Talents yet, and here comes Dignitas.
The root does not land onto ZJZ, able to pull back. Meg dropped them so close to level 20, pushing that top lane. Shadow Stalk is being used. There's the Valkyrie, and a quick blow up onto Raider. Can they hold this? They're looking for Azalea as well. They get him!
Double kill against Dignitas, but they're still on the core. Their shields are gone. They're trying to make the play, but Wooby falls, and I don't think Dignitas can pull this off. Even with the Holy Arena, they're dropping it already, but that's not going to be enough. The Tyrael explosion is going to take a couple more % off, but there's Junkrat. He's down, and that's just not enough.
Tyrael's just leaving. He wants nothing to do with this. They're just letting him go at this point. The one need to make something out of this. They're just going to let JPL live here just to try and get some pressure on the other side of the map.
Nani?
I know, what? They could have easily killed him, but in this case, they're just going to let him live, run across. Oh my god, are they going for a keep?
I expected the stagger death, and obviously they want to try and get something
god.
here. They will try and go for the keep here. I still expected them to try and at least delay JPL.
Oh my god, are they trying to end?
They can't.
Oh my god, they're
and
trying to end! They're going to take down the keep super fast. JPL dives in for some harassment. We're going to see that keep go down. 5 seconds left on Reina, 6 on second. The one! What are you doing? This is insane! But Emblem is so crazy, it just might work.
Here comes the Hyperion. Hugo goes down already. The shields are gone. The core is falling. But Dignitas is back to business. Only Junkrat is missing. The jet propulsion doesn't hit.
Meng.
They go for Meng, and he goes down. Flamethrower into the ground.
They're done.
That is the end of the core attempt of the one.
That seems like overkill. He died anyway, just to a minion. The core survives on 57 HP, and we see 57% as the one.
Goes across the map here now. The catapults are already massing up on the bottom right, and the one just putting everything on one single card here, and then YOLOing the Malthael straight into his death. And Dignitas, of course, is taking that opportunity now to end the game. The only survivor here is Diablo. He's trying to at least get rid of the catapults, but with 68% on the core and Holy Arena, that's no way.
Diablo goes down, Holy Arena for the extra damage, and that is a solid GG from Dignitas. But it was by no means easy.
No, it wasn't easy, but I can't help but look at this and ask myself, why?
I don't know.
It
was such a risky play.
You defend, you can get an easy keep. Maybe you can even try and go for a double keep here.
Keep and back up would have been fine.
And then you are on 20 versus 20. That attempt to go for the core here was very, very optimistic. And I cannot help but think that if the one just moves back after taking 1 or 2 keeps, they have a very good chance approaching the next objective, looking for the team fight. And they had so far great engages against Reina in particular, or against Junkrat, blowing them up. If they are successful with that in another team fight again, all of a sudden, the game is theirs.
I am completely with you, but let's hear what our analysts have to say about that absolutely close game.
Well, the one lose one, but it was pushed to the limits versus Team Dignitas. And you know who else pushed another strong team to the limit? Team Liquid, because they took a game off of Gen G. Gen G and Team Liquid went 1-1 in their match. I guess gods can bleed. For reals though, I just want to bring it back. Like, there were times early on, Snitch got picked. There were times the Valkyrie and the APOC, when that started going down, Raynor was gone. Blasted down before Sanctification could hit. And there were times when like Lunar Flare and Valkyrie weren't quite in connection. I really think if the one can clean up those kinds of things, they could take games off of anybody.
Yeah, the ending of that series, I think, overshadowed a little bit of what was happening between the early and the mid game. Because you look at it, and the one was actually hanging toe-to-toe against Dignitas, finding kills. I mean, at one point, it was 7 kills to 5. Those Valkyries finding the Raynor, picking them off against a Sanctification bunker composition is hard to pull off, and yet the one was able to do it multiple times. We did get into the weird late game scenario when you're going for a core rush with a Malthael, Cassia, and a Hanzo, which I can understand the mentality behind it, but you really got to look at your composition before you go for that type of play.
I definitely understand that it comes off as like such a high risk, high reward, and at the end of the day, I think everybody looks at it and goes, it's very, very, very low probability of this succeeding. But I do want to raise the counterpoint on the other side. If you look at the fact that the core was at 68%, I believe, on the side of the one, much like the one had the worst sieging composition in the world, Dignitas had debatably the best. You have Raynor, Bunker, Sanctification. 60%, I legitimately fear nothing. I will walk myself. I'll send an invitation. I'm coming through your bot lane. Try and stop me is how I feel about it. So I think it was so low that I like that they were willing to take that, even though from beginning to end it was like,
yeah, the Holy Arena, Hyperion, what can you do, really, versus that?
I mean, at the same time, you have 2 major engagers that you can try to force a fight before they even get towards your keep, and you have that open space. You have a Dragon's Arrow to say, okay, Tiro, you want to go? I'm going to force you Sanctification now, and you're going to win the team fight, or you have to back away. Because if you don't have that Sanctification, you're not getting on my core. And then if you don't have that for the control point, suddenly we got a ball game. I actually would have preferred a little bit more of a defensive play and more aggressive heroics use there from the one, instead of allowing that core rush thing to happen.
Well, I'm hopeful that we still see as strong of the one in the next game, because in previous series that went 1-1, they would win one game, but then the second game was a complete stomp. This was not the case. They didn't win, but they had many chances to be able to do so. So let's hear a quick word from our sponsors when we come back. Game 2.